Hello, lovely ladies. So here I am today with Nikki from the Wellness Antidote. I'm pretty sure that you have seen her on Instagram. She's very popular and she's an amazing integrative coach. She recovered from HA. She's pregnant at the moment, and I'm thrilled to have a conversation with her today. So welcome, Nikki.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
How are you feeling today?
Very pregnant. I'm 36 weeks tomorrow, so I'm getting to that stage where I'm ready to have the baby in any week now. So I'm feeling good, just a bit tired and sore, and yeah.
So did you say 36 weeks?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You must be exhausted at this stage. I remember that when I was 36 weeks, I was ready to give birth. I was like, get this baby out of me.
It gets like that. I'm not too bad. I feel good. It's just like my body's sore, my back's sore, my pelvis is sore and that kind of thing. But mentally, I'm still good and I'm not too tired. I'm sleeping like 10 hours a night. But I mean, that's good because I'm about to lose all of that soon.
Yeah, that's going to change very soon, but that's a part of the process, I guess.
Yeah.
And so let me ask you, first of all, a funny question. So what did you have for breakfast this morning?
For breakfast, it's like 1 degree and I had a green smoothie bowl. I don't know. I love them so much. And I really need to do the warmer breakfast now. It's freezing, but I'm just craving green smoothie bowls with lots of banana and protein and dates and everything. And it's like a really good way for me to just get in a whole lot of nutrients for baby first thing. That was my breakfast.
Well, actually, now that you're talking about cravings, tell me, have you experienced lots of cravings during your pregnancy?
No, and I'm so sad about this. I go through phases where I eat the same sort of foods all the time. Like I went through a stage where all I wanted was Zambrero's burritos, but not cravings and such. They last like a week where I'm like really obsessed with the food, but nothing weird. And yeah, it's a bit boring. I was really wanting to have like the pickles and ice cream experience, but not yet.
Yeah, I didn't experience it either, and I remember that I went through the phase where I wanted the same food for like a week, but normally I just crave carrots and pumpkins and ricotta, which is a very boring food to crave for.
No.
And then I wanted chili and pickles the next week. So I was waiting for the ice cream and pickle combination as well, but never happened, unfortunately.
I know.
So I haven't tried it yet. So, Nikki, you're very popular on Instagram because you were suffering from HA and then you managed to get out of the restriction overtraining loop and you got pregnant in the end.
Yeah.
So I would love if you can take us back and tell us more about what happened to you and how did you get out of the situation?
Yeah. Okay. So I guess for me, I think looking back at it, HA and actually losing my period was probably like a wake up call. It was probably like the icing on the cake for me after living with quite a lot of restriction most of my life. So when I was around 14, I had quite bad anorexia. I was a ballet dancer, and I suffered with quite a severe eating disorder then. And then I received treatment for that, and then I was healthy, but I think it sort of morphed itself into a form of like orthorexia, an obsession with eating healthy and working out and all the rest of it. So that carried on for most of my life. And I lived that way for many, many years. And then it wasn't until 2019 that I went through a period of like a lot of changes in my life and a lot of emotional stress. And every time I sort of got really stressed mentally, I would use the gym and restricting my food even more. So I maintained, in a reasonable weight, but then in 2019, when this happened, it just went really extreme. Like I lost quite a lot of weight. I'm not huge in a bigger body anyway, and so for me, it just that's what did it. I lost my period. So that's back in 2019. At the start, I was sort of going to see doctors, and I didn't really know like I didn't know what HA was. I had no idea. All the doctors I went to just said to me, go on the pill. One of them said to me, you look a bit stressed, maybe slow down, don't go to the gym as much, but nothing like the diet. I had to go to quite a few medical professionals to get the HA diagnosis. And this is around the time that I started to want to fall pregnant. So it really started to shape me that I had messed up my hormones as badly that I now was not able to fall pregnant. So that was a massive motivator for me, as well as, you know, when you start to look into HA and find out all of the health, you know, the benefits of having your period that I didn't know about, I started to get quite worried about my health. I thought I was healthy. I thought I was handling stress well by going to the gym and eating super clean and all of that sort of stuff, but I didn't realize how restrictive and obsessive it was. So yeah, that was around the time when I started to try recover. And it took me a while to actually, you know, I learned all about, as you do when you first find out what HA is, I learned all about everything and what to do, and I knew what I had to do, but implementing those sort of behaviors like eating more and working out less was really, really, really tough for me. My whole life revolved around that. I didn't know anything differently from gym and restricting my food and obsessing about it. So it was hard, and it started off very slowly, but yeah, I think it took me over sort of, I don't know, maybe I was in quasi recovery for quite some time. And then I really gave it my all for about 4 to 6 months, up until I fell pregnant before my first recovery period. So that's quite a funny story how that happened as well.
So you felt pregnant before getting your cycle back?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was really interesting. It was the weirdest timing ever, because when I was in HA recovery, you know, I was doing things, it was about a year or so, and I started to there was so many points you get to, and you just get frustrated and want to give up. One of those times where I just wanted to throw in the towel, I actually booked in to see a fertility specialist, because I just had in my head, my body's broken. I'm over 30 now. I really want to get pregnant. This isn't going to happen. I booked in to see a fertility specialist, and I got put on a waiting list for 3 months. And in those 3 months, I carried on with my HA recovery and that type of thing. The day came, I went to see her. She looked at my blood test and my blood work and had to talk to me and everything. And we noticed that it looked like, from my levels, you know, it's hard to tell, but it looked like I'd actually ovulated literally the week or two before. So she said, you just wait, we won't start anything now. It looks like you'll get your period back. But somehow we timed it perfectly on that ovulation before my first period, and I fell pregnant immediately. So it was just the timing of it all was crazy, just really, really crazy.
But so were you tracking your temperature or your LH levels, or you simply fell pregnant because you had sex at the right time?
A little bit of both. Like, I was tracking my temperature for about a couple of months prior. I was tracking a lot of symptoms. I had hot flashes for ages, and I was getting like a bit of cervical mucus, and I did notice my temperatures rise, but there was nothing consistent enough, and blood work as well, but there was nothing consistent enough to say, yes, you're ovulating now. It was just the most crazy time. Another thing is, my partner's in the army, and he was away for like a month and a half prior, and it was the day he got back. It just, like, the whole timing of all of it is just so, I don't know, it is crazy. So it happened like that, and I just didn't believe it. I took about 6 or 7 pregnancy tests because I was like, surely not, where's the period, you know? Obviously that was the optimal outcome, and that's what I wanted, but it just goes to show, like, it was just crazy.
Yeah, it's still a bit of a shock. I remember with my first child, I had to take so many pregnancy tests because I couldn't believe it. I was so happy, and still I couldn't believe it that I was actually making a baby after so many years of trying to get my period back and trying to conceive. So congratulations to you and your partner.
Thank you. Yeah.
And so let me ask you, Nikki, you mentioned before that you were in quasi recovery for quite a while, and then you gave it all. So what changed? What made you swap from quasi recovery to going all in, simply because we don't have a better way of saying it?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same. Like, I don't know if I like the phrase all in, but I know what you mean, like just like really giving it your all. I think for me it was something, because it was such a huge part of my life. It took me a while to replace a lot of old habits. I wasn't one of those people that could just go, okay, I'm not going to exercise at all, and I'm going to start eating this many calories. So I needed to do it gradually, and I think I needed to do it gradually so that it actually worked, because I think, you know, there were days where I would not do anything or have a really good day of eating or something like that, and I would just freak out and go backwards. So I noticed this pattern with myself. As soon as I started to go all in, that it would throw me back in the other direction, and I hated it. So I sort of, and I also was in a lot of the time I went through those stages of grief, as they call it, like the denial stage, and like, surely this is not what I need to do, and maybe I'll just go the medical route, as much as I'm like, it doesn't sit well with me. And I knew that that wasn't something that I wanted to do, but I had all these excuses and obstacles to overcome. So it took me quite a while to actually be like, okay, I'm ready, and I'm just going to give it my all now, because I really, really want this. And obviously what I was doing, playing around with, you know, in the quasi recovery stage, wasn't working as much as I think I personally needed to do that, to get over the mental side of it. Because yeah, the principle of HA recovery is so easy: eat more, do less, but actually doing it is so hard, so hard. And all of these inner beliefs and you know, things that I had told myself for years were all coming up to the surface, and I was having to get over all of that. So yeah, it took a while, but I'm grateful for that experience at the same time.
And so what do you think that made the biggest difference? Was the eating more, the training less, managing the anxiety, or what was it that actually got your period to come back?
I think it was a combination, and I think yeah, it was definitely a combination, but it was, a lot of it was, yeah, eliminating the stress. So I did start to find that eating more was a bit easier than the resting, and the managing stress side of things. I still did like slow walks and restorative yoga and that type of thing, and it was just about quietening my mind and my body down. That's something that I think really helped me. And like, I was seeing an acupuncturist, and I'm not saying that's like the thing that fixed it, but I was doing all of these different things, like journaling and taking time out for myself, and really working on my mental health, as well as slowing down and eating more and nourishing my body properly. I think that's something that I really needed to do, that I had neglected for so long, by just going to the gym if I was stressed out, or, you know, finding a coping mechanism that probably wasn't serving me as well. So it was definitely the a combination, but a lot of mental stuff, a lot of journaling and sitting with my thoughts and slowing down, and meditation and nature walks and that kind of thing, just to chill myself out. My body was just so stressed.
And how did you give yourself the permission to actually slow down? Did you have like a chat to yourself when you felt restless and you felt that you needed to go to the gym, but you knew your gut feeling was basically telling you to sit in the couch and journal?
Yeah,
How did you get around that guilt and the sense of, I need to move, I need to get going?
yeah, that's hard, isn't it? It's the restlessness
Mm,
is something that I struggled with a lot, and I found things like, that's why I kept a little bit of like a very slow yoga practice in my mornings sometimes, and some stretching and that kind of thing, and getting out into nature. Those sort of things really helped me feel like I was still moving in an intuitive way, and for my body, but I wasn't getting my heart rate up or smashing it at the gym and that kind of thing. So I still incorporated a lot of self-care practices in that sense, just to make sure that I was actually coping with giving up so much that I was used to. You know, like I would usually get up and have a coffee and run down to the gym and do a workout and just go, get to work and that type of thing. So it was just about simplifying and adapting little things throughout my routine in the morning that helped me relax and gradually. And that's why I needed to do it gradually, so that it wasn't such a huge shock, because I think, going from such a intense lifestyle like that to slowing down completely isn't something that really happens overnight for most people anyway.
Absolutely. And it can be also anxiety provoking. And then most of the time I see women that they put all this effort into the HA recovery process, and they get the period back within a very short time frame. But when it comes to the mental health, they haven't really had the chance to work on it. So sometimes I do invite women to take a little bit longer just to get the period back, and also work on finding coping mechanism to deal with stress and to deal with what life throws at us, because stress is ever present. But even though it's ever present, we don't need to get too stressed about it. Like, there are so many things that we can implement so our life is a little bit easier as well. I don't know if I'm making sense right now, but
and it's so right, because at the end of the day, we're not doing this as like another form of punishment and making it a horrible experience. It's about getting back your life and getting back some freedom and being able to move your body because it feels good, and you know, have a green smoothie for breakfast because that's what you're craving, instead of it being so restrictive. And I think you're right. Like, I say the same to my clients now, just take your time with it a little bit. If it doesn't feel right, and if it's going to cause you more anxiety, then that's not what we want either. It's hard enough, hey?
Absolutely. And then, so Nikki, at the end of the HA recovery process, you got pregnant. So may I ask you, how is being pregnant after having HA? Because you have seen your body changing so much in the past 7 to 8 months. So how are you handling it? And also all the weird symptoms and that you're experiencing at the moment.
Yeah, it's wild. It's crazy. I think I am so grateful that I went through what I had to do to get here, because I think if I had fallen pregnant before having to go through any of this, I would not have been okay with anything that's happening to my body right now, and even having to slow down or anything. It is crazy how much and how quickly things change in your symptoms, as you'd know. Especially during that first trimester, when you don't really vocalize the fact to everybody that you're pregnant, but you feel super bloated and you feel super tired and sick, and all you want is carbs, and you know, like, it's a tough little first 12 weeks to navigate. And I think if I hadn't gone through and done the inner work of HA recovery, I would have found it really, really difficult, because I still found it a bit challenging, especially in those first 12 weeks. And now that I'm starting to really have to slow down and listen to my body properly, it is challenging sometimes. But I guess now I'm like, I have just a deeper respect for my body and what it can do and what it's done for me, and the fact that obviously I'm growing a baby right now. Like, it's beautiful and it's amazing, and I'm just so grateful for it, that it overrides the rest of those things that come up, you know.
Absolutely. And have you found yourself exercising during pregnancy?
Yeah, a little bit. I still try and walk every day, but it's a lot slower and a lot shorter walks, and I'm doing a bit of Pilates and yoga as well, just every morning for maybe 15 minutes or so, just something really slow. It's actually quite similar to HA recovery. I have kept it quite similar, and it's just to get the body moving, because it's beneficial in pregnancy, but obviously don't want to go and do what I would have probably done if I had just gotten pregnant and gone for runs and the gym and everything. So
yeah, and it's also to make sure that you strengthen your pelvis and also your core muscle for when you're going to have your beautiful baby, and you will need all the strength that you can get. So have you, talking about the postpartum phase, have you been preparing yourself physically and mentally?
Yeah, I hear this fourth trimester is something that you really do need to prepare for. I'm preparing in the way that I made a whole lot of bone broth the other day, and I'm making a whole lot of Ayurvedic foods and stuff like that, and stocking up the pantry with a lot of healing foods and things like that I can do to help support my body after having baby. And yeah, I'm preparing my body in the way, that I'm drinking the red raspberry leaf tea and doing the perinatal massage and all the rest of it. But I think mentally, it's a hard one to prepare for. I'm sort of absorbing as much information as I can from people that I trust, but I'm just sort of being mindful that it's going to be another funny transition period with my body, with having the baby, with the sleep deprivation and having everything so new. And, I think I don't really know how else I can mentally prepare. I just am aware that it's going to be a bit challenging. And I know that I've got those practices in place, like if I need to take 10 minutes out of the day just to do some meditation or do something for myself or give the baby to my partner and have that tiny bit of time to yourself, I think that's really important as well. Because that, postpartum stage sounds quite intense.
I actually find it more intense than pregnancy and giving birth, simply because they don't tell you the truth. They don't tell you about the pain that you feel afterwards and for so many weeks. And also the anxiety that you feel when you have a new human being to take care of and you're completely sleep deprived, most of the time quite undernourished because everything goes into the breast milk. And I wish that I had the level of information that I have right now, but it seems to me that you have done all the homework and you're
if you can
quite ready for
you
it.
can call it that.
As much as you can. In my situation, I threw myself into the deep end without knowing what to expect. Second round, it was such a smoother transition compared to my first baby. So I'm really grateful that you actually spent some time cooking, doing some Ayurvedic foods that are going to help your body to heal beautifully.
Yeah. Hopefully we can see what happens. I think it's just like you can only do so much for these things. Hey, it's just, but I'm just glad I'm aware. I'm aware that there is such thing as a fourth trimester.
Yeah, and are you planning to take some time off?
Yeah, we're this is actually something that's also stressing me out. We're actually moving states again about 4 or 5 weeks after she's born because my partner's in the military. So yeah, I will have some time off, but it's we probably will be moving back to Queensland, somewhere in Queensland. So it's a bit stressful, but we'll try and manage it all. But I will have some time off.
It's going to be a warmer climate, so maybe it's going to be easier to have a small baby where it's a little bit warmer.
I hope so.
And I have a couple of questions for you regarding still your HA recovery process. When you started your Quasi recovery, were you still tracking your caloric intake or you just let that go?
I actually I haven't tracked for years and years and years. It's something that I did quite regimentally when I was young, when I was quite a bit younger, maybe 6-7 years ago. I just went through a period of tracking calories. So it sort of gave me, I was quite aware and I always just did it. I always just kept an eye on macros and that type of thing, but I didn't track at all. And I didn't track during recovery either because I knew that was quite triggering to me because when I used to do it, I'd get so obsessed over it. So I had an idea in my head, but I mainly focused on making sure that I was having breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks in between and dessert and making sure that each meal had, your carbs, fat, protein. And I would throw in a lot of foods that I was fearful of or that type of thing. So I did it quite intuitively because personally it would have been a trigger for me. I don't like counting.
And how did you challenge your food fears in the very beginning?
A few different ways. My partner was a massive help with that. I just learned to tap into that inner dialogue that would go on all the time. Like if I would catch myself, for example, one of the first things I did was I was walking past Muffin Break and I used to love chocolate chip cookie muffins from Muffin Break. I don't know, they were just something, the smell of them when you walk past that shop. And so I remember walking past and thinking, oh my God, yum, I'd love to have one. And then I was like, well, no. And I kept on walking because I would never let myself just randomly have a muffin in the middle of the day. But I would catch myself out and if I had enough strength, I would go back and just order one and have it and enjoy it and just, do little things like that on my own. And then my partner would challenge me, like we usually get Uber Eats once a week or something on a Friday night, but there was always like a few specific restaurants that I'd know that was safe to order from because I knew what the food was and everything, what I'd be getting. But we'd do things like he would choose what we were going to eat and I would just go with it. Or on Sunday mornings, we'd go out for coffee usually, but we would go to this place that had really nice pastries and we'd get a pastry with our coffee or something like that. So just little things randomly, mainly with the help of my partner, but also if I caught myself having those thoughts in my head, like, you can't have that, then I'd be like, well, yes, I can, and I'm going to have it and challenge it. So, it was a funny little process. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it sounds really lots of fun, to be honest. And is there any other tips that you would like to share with the audience that is listening to this interview today that can support them through their HIV recovery process, especially when it comes to tackling food fears and just go out and eat the food, especially when you're feeling so uncomfortable and bloated, which normally happens in the very beginning of the HIV recovery process?
Yeah. I think that it is super important to give yourself that time to do things little by little and don't overwhelm yourself and by the process of HA recovery. So we all know what you need to do to get your period back, but doing it at your own pace and giving yourself grace and really seeing when you do have those food fears that you overcome, or those days that you go for a very slow walk instead of a gym workout, you journal about that, or you give yourself some credit for that, and you really, really keep telling yourself how well you're doing and through this process, because every little thing that you do is a step in the right direction. And I think we don't give ourselves enough credit for the really small things that we do on the process to actually getting our period back, because you don't have a lot of indication apart from some physical symptoms that you're doing well. So you need to be a bit of your own advocate and your own support person if you don't have someone there, and just remind yourself that you're doing the best you can, and that your body wants to heal is a really important thing that I always tell everybody. Your body wants to heal, it just needs some time to undo what's happened in the past, and that's individual for everybody as well. Don't compare yourself to anybody else's journey, because that really can
That's a big one. I'm so happy that you actually mentioned comparisonitis, because it is true, it is real, and even comparing yourself with old pictures of yourself, which is a person that you aren't anymore, and can be so triggering. One last question, because I find this conversation so interesting and I have so many things that I would like to ask you. Thank you. Did you tell your friends that you were going through the HIV recovery process, or you kept it for yourself in the beginning?
I told some friends, and then I didn't tell some other friends either. I told them little bits of information. It was easier for me because we moved states, so we move a lot. Like I actually moved completely to a different place than where my other friends were, and COVID happened and that type of thing. So it was kind of something I told close friends, but not everybody. And instead of that's when I started my Instagram page and sharing on my Instagram page and connecting with people that were going through it as well. So I could talk to people, but it wasn't necessarily my friends and or all of my friends anyway, because it was just something that I wanted to do. I knew that it wouldn't be easy or for everybody to understand. I knew that there'd be quite a lot of triggering comments around it. So I chose quite selectively who I decided to tell. But I think if I was with them, like if I hadn't moved and I was going to be surrounded by them, then I probably would have, because I think it's good for people to be aware, to support you. And I think it's good for you to set boundaries as well if you are noticing that you're around people that aren't supportive of your choices as well. So for me, it was a funny one. I just told a few.
Yeah, especially because you don't want to be surrounded by unwelcome comments all the time. So sometimes it's just easier to tell your closest friends and say, look, I'm going to gain a little bit of weight. I'm going to have all these weird symptoms. And I really hope that you're going to be there for me, because I want to have a baby and I want to get my cycle back.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And it's like, it's not also, I've talked to a few people about this. It's not also your job to go and educate everybody that doesn't want to know or doesn't understand or isn't going through it, because there was a period there where I was just like, I just want to tell everybody, like, all of these people came to my mind. I'm like, I bet you they've got issues with this and this. And then I'm like, hang on, it's not my job to fix everybody. Just focus on yourself. And if you need to share, that's what your Instagram page is for. And that's what your journaling's for, and that's what your partner's for, to talk to you about, and your close friends. But yeah, that's a funny one too.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And Nicky, so I noticed from your Instagram page that you have also a beautiful ebook that people can grab if they want to get to know you a little bit better, if they want to get in touch with you. Do you want to share a little bit more about the ebook and your Instagram page and your business?
Yeah, so I was studying to become a integrative health coach at the time. I started to, when I started sharing my journey and getting really into HA recovery, I started to focus more on my business towards women's health and that sort of stuff. So I do coach women with hormone imbalances and through HA recovery, similar to what you do, I think, as well. And I have a ebook as well on that's more for learning all about your cycle and the different phases of your cycle and what to eat for each cycle and what to do and how it affects our body and that type of thing as well. I've created that recently too.
I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna download it as soon as we finish this conversation, because it's always good to have a reminder on my laptop of how I should move and to eat during the different phases of the cycle, because it changes dramatically. And it's something that we haven't learned, and it wasn't really common knowledge until the past couple of years, I would say.
Yeah, I think so too. I think in my HA recovery, because I was dabbling, I did the advanced hormone course through Integrative Institute of Nutrition, the school I went to. And when I started learning about hormones, I was like, this is something that I really want to implement when I do get my period back, because it's so beneficial. And I think if I'd probably, when we listen to our body like that and we don't push ourselves for certain times of the month, that could probably prevent a lot of these issues coming up, so it's really interesting. I'll send you a copy after this.
Oh, thank you. And I really hope that one day in high schools, they're gonna promote like a book that tells everything about the menstrual cycle, and that tell women and little girls they don't have to spread themselves thin and work out every day like boys do, because it's gonna affect their hormonal health in the long term.
I know.
So
I wish as well that'd be a dream if we could all like go and do that.
well, we are making a change anyway, so one step at a time. Hopefully our message will spread across and we're going to be able to change our next generation. And are you waiting for a boy or a girl?
A girl.
There we go. So you're going to be able to help her for sure.
I know, I'm so happy. And it's another thing, like I'm so grateful I learned this before the last thing I'd want to do, I know that boys can be susceptible to it as well, but is to pass down a body image complex to my daughter. So I feel so excited that I'm having a little girl to try and protect her a little bit more from the world that we live in and the world that we grew up in, and as much as I can anyway. It's super exciting. I was stoked when I found out I was having a girl.
Me too. And my little girl, she's now 4, and I read somewhere, and it's actually backed up by research, that little girls can start dieting from the tender age of 4.
Yeah.
And I found that was shocking. So in our household at the moment, we don't have magazines, we don't watch TV, we never talk about dieting. We always share food on the table. There are no bad or good foods. And if I look back to 20 years ago, I would have behaved in such a different way, because I really truly believe that having a muffin was definitely worse than having a salad. And I kept buying all these diet magazines and the good health, and I don't want to name names. But my life has changed so dramatically, and I'm so happy that I managed to have a girl when I was also ready for it, mentally ready to give her the best, the best growing up in life.
It's so beautiful. I'll probably be reaching out to you if I ever have any things with my little girl when she's a bit older, because it's something, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts on that type of thing as well, about how young girls you know, even if at that age they just pick up on what you say to yourself, or if they hear you speak negatively about your body, it doesn't have to be direct towards them, but they absorb that information and their belief process starts from such a young age. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm the same. I'm so happy that I know that.
Absolutely. And, I look back at myself 10 years ago. If I had seen a baby girl, I would have said, oh, you look so beautiful. You're so pretty. And now I notice that with my little one, I normally say, oh, you're so strong. You're so clever. Your hairs are so beautiful. So my way of talking is completely different. And she doesn't think much about being beautiful or not. She just doesn't care about the term in itself because it has lost all the importance that other people have given to the term, if it
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'm trying my best to make a difference, obviously, as every single parent. I'm sure that I'm failing somewhere, but we can only try.
Yeah, that's it. You can only do your best. Can only do
Exactly.
it.
Nikki, it was lovely speaking to you.
Yeah.
Good luck for the last month, for the
Thank
last
you.
step of the journey. I'm looking forward to see beautiful pictures of the baby, and I'm looking forward to know the name whenever you're going to be ready to share it.
Yeah.
And that's it. If please, to all of you that are listening, just make sure that you check out Nikki, the Wellness Antidote, on Instagram, and you can find more about her by clicking the link in bio. All righty, Nikki. I'll talk to you another time, hopefully.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was lovely. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.